On today's show, the good and the bad from the Rockets' most recent game against the Philadelphia 76ers. The good, Jalen Green scored 29 points. The bad, he was 6 of 20 to get there. The good, he had a career high at the free throw line, 15 of 17. The bad, Jabari Smith Jr. scored only 10 points on 3 of 14 shooting. The good, the bench looked really solid. Usman Garuba was fantastic. TyTy Washington continues making an impact in these games. We're going to break it all down for you, plus some other news and notes coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
The Houston Rockets select Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, and Jabari Smith Jr.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
Every time I step on that floor, I'm coming.
Hey, Houston fans, I am so happy.
You're getting somebody who's going to come in with a chip on their shoulder, somebody who's going to come in and compete from day one.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Mondays. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin, and the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, where I would like your honest, unfiltered thoughts on Jabari Smith Jr.'s struggles, because that's been a topic as of late over the last couple days with Rockets fans. We're going to touch on that a little bit in today's episode. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. That's prizepicks.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. As always, thanks for making LOR part of your day every single day, whether it's on the way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thanks for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every day. I had a weird like 24-hour bug on Tuesday. I was super like bedridden. I'm on the upswing now, thankfully. Wednesday morning, the time I'm recording this. So I do want to talk a little bit about the 76ers game, because I didn't get a chance to in the traditional recap pod sense of things. And this was a game worth talking about, because the Rockets played a competitive first half, and despite the fact that they weren't shooting the three ball at all, they hadn't hit a three in the entire first half. And the continued struggles to shoot the basketball is concerning for this Houston Rockets team. And it negatively and directly impacts guys like Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green. It closes off driving lanes. It prevents a lot. So we'll touch base on that a little bit as well. But let's just start with Jalen Green, who he had a bad game in Miami, right? Miami flu game, sure. Turned 21. And I kind of come away feeling somewhat positive after this game from Jalen Green, because look, Jalen scored 29 points on 6 of 20 shooting, because he went 15 of 17 at the free throw line. That's a career high in both makes and attempts for Jalen Green at the line. This game was encouraging, if only because it shows, and hopefully this is the game that they will throw on film and like look back at for future reference for Jalen, when it's like, hey, look at what you can do when you can't get anything going downhill or at the rim, because they have Joel Embiid trolling the paint, and your three ball's not falling, 2 of 8 from long distance, and he didn't hit a single three until the second half. That's when he finally hit he hit 2 threes in the third quarter, and that was it for the game. So this needs to be the shining example of what Jalen Green can be and can achieve by initiating contact, drawing fouls, and living at the free throw line. Because that's what you've got to do. When the rest of your game, when you can't get shots to fall, when you can't get to the rim, when you can't convert, you've got to find a way to still put points on the board. How do you do that? You get to the free throw line. And Jalen Green was an absolute foul merchant in this game. And that was one of, if not the biggest positive, silver lining, whatever from this game, was seeing Jalen Green kind of get star calls, right? Like he was driving to the rim, initiating contact, throwing his body into guys, turning on the jets, and just running straight into guys to draw the foul. And that kind of sucks, because that's how the NBA is officiated these days, but that's what you've got to do. And so to see Jalen actually do that and still be able to put up 29 points despite the fact that he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat in this game is really encouraging, because now you take this part, you take this game, right, this film, and you say, all right, Jalen, pair the foul drawing technique with your games when you have the 3-ball going, or when you're just a lightning bolt blur and nobody can stop you and you're living and feasting at the rim in the paint, right? So if he can add that part, if he can add the free throws to the rest of his game, when the rest of it's going, when he's got the shooting, when the mid-range shots are falling, all of that, then he's going to be unstoppable, right? The fact that he was able to put up 29 points and he had arguably one of the worst shooting games of the entire season is a fantastic development. So I'm actually really encouraged, all things considered, about how this game played out, at least from Jalen Green's perspective. Seeing him, we've seen it before, right? Where he gets a little bit, disengaged offensively when he feels like he's getting shut down, when the shot's not falling, when he can't get, pardon me, still on the upswing. When he gets his, when the shot starts, when the shot's not going in, when he can't get to the rim, when there's, a really tough half-court defense that he's trying to break down, which credit to the Philly defense. I mean, the 76ers defense really made life difficult on Jalen Green. We've seen Jalen kind of like shrink a little bit at times in those moments, and he didn't shrink in this game, right? He showed up and he was like, all right, you know what? Screw it. Tucking my head down. I'm just going to drive straight at him again and again and again and again. And I'm going to get to the free throw line because that's the only place that I can manufacture points tonight. And I'm going to do it repeatedly over and over and over. And you wound up being 15 of 17 at the line. So good. So not only was it, a lot of attempts, it was good free throw shooting, right? 15 of 17 is fantastic. So overall, I really liked what we saw out of Jalen Green in this game. I'll go ahead and anoint him your Locked On Rockets player of the game from this one. But I do want to unpack and discuss some of the other facets of this game. Jabari Smith Jr., his continued struggles, and that seems to be a heated debate amongst Rockets fans currently. I want to talk about some of the positive impacts from the bench. I want to give Usman Garuba his flowers despite his injury. He played a fantastic game defensively against the 76ers. Want to talk about him. We will talk a little bit about James Harden later on in the episode, as well as a brief, quick preview about what to expect out of All-Star Weekend from this Houston Rockets squad. We're going to get there in just one moment, but first, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Next game, how about Jalen Green to have more than 24.5 points? What about Alperen Sengun to have more than 8.5 rebounds? How about Jae'Sean Tate to have less than 5.5 assists? Or what about Jabari Smith Jr. to have less than 2.5 three-pointers made? So what is Prize Picks? Daily fantasy sports, but how does it work? Basically, you pick 2 to 6 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projections, you can win up to 25 times back on your money on any entry that you submit. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. That's NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA. They've got you covered for everything over at Prize Picks. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that simple. They're safe. They offer incredibly fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Let's focus on Jabari Smith Jr. here. Jabari in this game against the Sixers had 10 points, 3 of 14 shooting, 1 of 4 from long distance, was 3 of 3 at the free throw line, 12 boards, 2 assists, 5 turnovers. We're approximately 2/3 of the way through the NBA season, 2/3 of the way through Jabari's rookie campaign. And I'll be completely honest. It's been underwhelming, right? It has been. For what was a number 3 overall pick, Jabari's impact has been underwhelming. And I think there's a variety of reasons to consider here. There's a lot of variables at play. So I'm going to try and unpack this. Because for one, I've been and continue to be one of Jabari's biggest supporters and at times defenders, given a lot of the angst in this Rockets fan base. However, I also try to call it how I see it. Jabari has struggled. There's no way to put it, right? There's no way to sugarcoat it. Like, Jabari has been bad through a majority of his rookie season. In fact, you could make a very pretty easy argument that the Rockets would be a better overall team if you just swapped out Jabari for Tari, because Tari's been that much more impactful in the minutes that he's been given, right? Tari just kind of makes things happen on the floor. Now, Jabari's had some really distinct highs, right? Like, obviously, the defense against Giannis and the Bucks win. He's had some games where the shot is falling, and you're like, oh, like, okay, this is a bit of a glimpse of, like, what this is supposed to look like on a more consistent basis, right? But unfortunately, it's not happening consistently, right? In fact, it's happened, the sample size of Jabari being a bad shooter is now greater than the sample size that we have of him being a good shooter during college. That's probably a little concerning, or should be a little concerning. Now, here's the thing. First off, this entire Rockets team can't shoot, so it's not just a Jabari problem. I desperately want to see this Houston Rockets organization bring in a new shooting coach this offseason. They cannot continue to shoot the basketball the way that they have, and I love John Lucas to pieces. Incredible coach, but he's also in charge of development, and he's the Rockets shooting coach, and this, that, and the other thing, and clearly something is broken because the entire team can't shoot. So that issue needs to be resolved, but that's an offseason thing. That's not something you're going to be able to adjust and fix mid-season. Go out, hire an actual shooting coach, and bring him in to diagnose and fix the problems with this team to hopefully get guys back on track. Maybe it's just maybe it's just a team-wide shooting bug. Who knows? But with Jabari specifically, for somebody who was billed as a shooter and had a very specific skill set coming into the NBA, he's had moments defensively where he's looked good. He's also had plenty of moments where he hasn't looked good defensively. He's a rookie. That's bound to happen, right? And then offensively, he's a guy that doesn't bring a ton to the table if he's not hitting shots. But here's part of the issue, and I've spoken about this before, but it's got to be really hard going from being the guy, number one option, whatever, the guy your entire career, to then being, I don't know, sometimes a fourth option, a fourth, fifth, sixth option, whatever you want to call it on this Rockets team. There are so many guys that get their buckets ahead of him and have gotten their shots ahead of him for so much of this season. And now, in the post-Eric Gordon era, and without Kevin Porter Jr. in the lineup, it definitely looks like Jabari is getting more shot attempts, right? He got 14 attempts in this game against the 76ers. He got plenty of attempts against the Miami Heat. There are games where Jabari does get plenty of attempts, but just getting shots up, getting attempts does not equate rhythm, does not equate flow within an offense, right? And for Jabari, being a guy who was accustomed to being a focal point, having the ball in his hands, touching the ball, feeling the ball, understanding plays were going to be called for him, all that, right? To going to seemingly no plays being called for him, right? Being told to just stand on the perimeter, be ready to catch and shoot, having to create his own offense at times, having to step outside of his box to try and do something, anything, because he's just not being involved. It's difficult, right? Now, I've talked about this before. He needs to be able to hit the open shots that he gets, right? And he's not hitting those. So it's unfair to sit here and think that the coaching staff should be drawing up plays specifically for him when he's not even hitting the open shots that he's getting. But it's kind of like a chicken and egg dilemma, right? Earlier this season, the Rockets didn't do anything to draw up plays to make life easy for Jabari, to make him feel like he was part of the offense, right? So then he got off to a bad start. He was in a rut. He looked really, really bad. And then, he started to shoot the ball a little bit better, and they still really didn't, capitalize or take advantage of the fact that, Jabari's actually kind of, turning it on a little bit. And then he started to play poorly again. So it's just, I look at the coaching staff, and I'm like, what have they done at all to empower Jabari Smith Jr. this season? Some of that is, I very much think there's, a confidence factor at play here where Jabari knows that he's better than this. And so I think there is some mental stuff going on, as well as maybe there's something fundamentally, or not fundamentally wrong, but maybe there is some flaws in the shooting motion, something that can be ironed out with a shooting coach this offseason. We've talked about it before. He has a very, it's kind of like a straight line drive thing with his shot. At this point, I've defended Jabari, and I will continue to do so because I'm not so worried about his long-term progression. Like, I think he's still going to turn into a solid NBA player one day, and I still think he has incredibly sky-high potential, and it's tough. It's tough to want to be tough on a rookie, but I think if you're being fair and objective about it, he has really under-delivered this season compared to what I thought he was going to be personally capable of and what a lot of people thought he was going to be able to be capable of. But there are, and I tried to present, there's a lot of factors at play and a lot of reasons for that, right? I don't think the situation is broken. I'm not ready to call him a bust. I don't think anybody should be, honestly, at this point. Nobody is drafted to be a rookie, right? But he's had a really bad rookie year. So what needs to happen for him to like bounce back in this final third of the season? What would you need to see out of Jabari Smith Jr. to instill confidence that he is or can be like, or was the right selection, right? What do you need to see out of Jabari in this final 1/3 of the season to make you feel a little bit more confident about him moving forward? Is it just the shot? Would you like to see him be able to, do a little bit more? I mean, you go to the Sixers game, right? And there were back-to-back possessions where I don't know why they're using Jabari Smith Jr. to break his zone in the middle of the floor instead of Alperen, Sengun, or Jae'Sean Tate. Even Ryan Hollins called it out live on the broadcast. But there were back-to-back possessions against the Sixers where Jabari got the ball, middle of the floor, right at the free throw line, turned, shot a jumper, and bricked it. Like back-to-back possessions, right? And it's like, if you're not even able to hit a wide-open free throw jumper as like the shooter, like that's supposed to be his spot, right? But at the same time, right, you're not in rhythm, haven't been touching the basketball, what have you, didn't get a lot of sleep the night before because he was in his hotel room saying, I got Embiid, and Philly fans were upset about the Super Bowl outcome. So like, I kid, I digress, but that's concerning, right? It is concerning. And I do wonder if it would be less concerning, right? Because I still think I'm slightly optimistic about some of the stuff that we've seen out of Jabari this season. The fact that he is willing to and at times has stepped out of his box, out of his comfort zone to drive the basketball, to facilitate, make some passes to teammates, little things here and there, right? That have piled up over the season. Positives that have piled up over the season. I wonder if it would have been a better outcome for Jabari if we had seen none of that stuff, right? The passing, the driving ability, the finishing at the rim, the offensive rebounding, whatever, just erase all of that, but make him like a 37% three-point shooter, 38% three-point shooter, right? Suddenly, do all the worries go out the window with Jabari, or do you suddenly look at him and you're like, okay, great, he can hit threes, but like he literally can't do anything else offensively? I don't know. It's catch-22. So give me your thoughts on Jabari in the YouTube comments. I want to know where you stand on him 2/3 of the way through his rookie year. Tell me how you feel about him. But coming up, I do want to share some final positives from this Rockets-Sixers game. I want to focus on the Rockets bench because I really was impressed by Usman Garuba and TyTy Washington in this game against Philadelphia. We're going to talk about that coming up in just one moment, as well as a few other news and notes about your Houston Rockets. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Are you looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories that usually comes along with that? Then you've got to check out Built Bar, because with Built Bar, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious, you won't even think that they're good for you. Perfect if you're still holding strong to your New Year's resolutions. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, they're covered in 100% delicious chocolate, and they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond, strawberry, raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel. My personal favorite, coconut brownie chunk. You really can't go wrong with a single bar on their menu. Every single bar tastes like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. They're totally healthy. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein in every single bar. And now you don't actually even have to wait around to order them. You can order them online. I'll tell you how to do that in a second. But if you want, you can walk in person to your nearest Sam's Club or Walmart and grab a box right off the shelf. Now, if you're not that type of person, if you'd prefer to get them online, you could do that too. Just visit Built.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off your very next order of the best tasting protein bars on the market. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON15 for 15% off at Built.com. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast, home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Final thoughts here, and I want to give some flowers to a couple guys off the Houston Rockets bench here. Usman Garuba and TyTy Washington. And we'll start with Us, because the Us was most certainly loose in this game against the 76ers up until it looked like he got hurt. And I do hope, I haven't seen an update on Us. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but we are heading into All-Star break, so hopefully nothing serious, something that he can just, take a little time off, recover, whatever. We did get Frank Kaminsky's debut as a Houston Rocket. Frank the Tank Kaminsky did make his debut for Houston, had 1 rebound, 1 assist, and 1 block in his 6 minutes, missed his 2 shots, 1 3-pointer. Frank was not going to play until Usman Garuba got hurt. But for Garuba, he had what I thought was a fantastic game, defending a much bigger opposing center in Joel Embiid. Garuba finished with 5 points on 2 of 3 shooting, had a couple rebounds, had a couple steals. Not a fantastic stat line when you just look at it, but he actually did a fantastic job. And the Rockets collectively, when Us was on the floor, I thought did a great job of crowding Embiid, forcing turnovers, making life hard on him, tipping the ball away, forcing him into tougher shots. Embiid still had 23 points on 8 of 14 shooting, and the Sixers caught fire in the third quarter and basically coasted to the finish line against Houston, so it didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But when you look at like the individual possession to possession and the ways that Garuba was able to kind of like, he took the first bump like in the chest from Embiid, who's like a mountain compared to Garuba, and then he was using his hands, right? He got he took the physicality, would get in there with his hands, slap at the ball, tap the ball away, whatever. It was good defense by Garuba, right? And you can see how when he's out there, he hustles, he gives 110%. And despite the fact that he was truly outclassed, by... Woo! Sneeze mid-podcast. That's fun. God, I love that mute button. So even though Garuba was, super undersized compared to Embiid, I really thought that he did a great job in his, 9 minutes of run against him. And as a team, the Rockets did a good job understanding, okay, cool, Embiid's going to go post up on Garuba. All right, we're going to flash a double team at him. We're going to send somebody as soon as Joel Embiid turns, you're going to send somebody from behind and try and strip the ball, whatever, sneak up from behind him, all of that. And so I actually kind of liked the Rockets' defensive approach with Embiid in this game, right? He didn't go, 23 points is still good, but by Embiid's usual standards, they kind of held him to a lackluster scoring affair. They didn't let him, completely feast at the free throw line, just 6 attempts. He hit all 6. And Embiid settled for a lot of mid-range jumpers in this game. So overall, really liked what we saw out of Usman Garuba in this one. He continues to show that he's a versatile defender, right? He can guard bigs, he can switch, he can guard on the perimeter, he can do a little bit of everything. And then for TyTy Washington, who is, I guess, through these first 2 games, TyTy's your backup point guard now. TyTy is the post-Eric Gordon era trade backup point guard for the Houston Rockets. No Jae'Sean minutes in this game, and TyTy played 20 minutes, was almost the high minute man off the Rockets bench yet again. Tari Eason with 21 minutes, and TyTy with 20, and it very much looks like the Rockets' rotation off the bench, at least for now, and depends on what happens with Garuba's injury, but at least for now, it's TyTy Washington, Josh Christopher, Tari Eason, and Usman Garuba as your 4 guys off the Houston Rockets bench to go along with the 5 starters. That's been the rotation that Steven Silas has heavily relied on through 2 games now in the post-Eric Gordon era, and hopefully it's the rotation that we see him sticking with moving forward because, again, the Jae'Sean versus TyTy Washington argument should no longer exist. But TyTy was great in this game. 4 points, 2 of 5 shooting, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, no turnovers. TyTy just does a good job taking care of the basketball. Like when he's on the floor, he understands what his role is. He understands trying to get other guys involved, but he's also not incredibly passive, right? Like he understands like he still has to be a threat to score the ball. He's got the floater that, he missed a couple in the game against the Sixers, but he's got that floater as part of his offensive repertoire. He's got the willingness to shoot the 3 ball. He didn't in this game against the 76ers, but he's got the willingness and has shown previously that he's willing to shoot that 3 ball when given the opportunity. So there were a couple moments, though, in this game, and this is more of a team issue than it is just a TyTy issue, so I'll kind of rope in the rest of the entire team. The Rockets as a team, the 3-point shooting, I talked about it a little bit early on, but it is incredibly concerning, right? They were 6 of 24 in this game for 25%. Darius Days hit 2 of those threes in garbage time. So Darius Days shot 3 3-point attempts in garbage time, hit 2 of them. The Rockets' percentage was actually so much worse because they were 4 of 21. 4 of 21 before Darius Days checked in and drained 2 out of his 3 threes in garbage time. Jalen Green had a ton of threes in this game, right? 8 3-point attempts. Jabari had 4. And then down the rest of the roster, not a single other person broke more than 3 3-point attempts. And a lot of them only had 1, right? And this is the big issue with the Rockets' current starting lineup. They don't have any shooters in the starting lineup. KJ had 1 3-point attempt. Jae'Sean Tate had 1 3-point attempt. And Alp had 1 3-point attempt. Jae'Sean Tate in the starting lineup provides no spacing, unfortunately. And right now, I think it would be the best thing for the Houston Rockets to actually roll out Tari Eason in the starting lineup instead of Jae'Sean Tate, because even though that removes another ball handler, you don't necessarily need a ball handler with Jalen Green out there. He can handle the ball, and then you're going to run so much through Alperen Sengun. He can be kind of your secondary ball handler on the floor, but defenses are not guarding Jae'Sean Tate in the starting lineup. They're just not. And it's making life difficult. It's cutting off driving lanes for Jalen Green. It's making life really difficult for Alperen Sengun. And it's a symptom of a team-wide issue, right? The three-point shooting is really concerning. And I don't know if the Rockets are going to be able to fix it, if the entire team is just in a shooting funk right now. But they're not even attempting threes, is the crazy part, right? 24 three-point attempts. You just can't win with the math advantage the way that it works in today's NBA. You cannot win games attempting less than 30 three-point attempts. It's damn near impossible. So I did want to give those guys credit off the Rockets bench because I thought Us was fantastic. I thought TyTy was fantastic. And I'm really excited about seeing those guys. Again, hopefully the Us injury is nothing serious. I am really excited about seeing those guys continue to play over this last 1/3 of the season and what they can really do given some increased run, especially TyTy. Now, couple more things to throw in here at the end of the show. One, we found out that Jabari Smith Jr. would be participating in the NBA skills competition on Friday night. So, sorry, not Friday night, Saturday night. So that should be a ton of fun as far as the NBA Saturday night All-Star festivities are concerned. So now the Rockets have Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, and Jabari Smith Jr. in the Rising Stars Challenge on Friday. They've got Jabari Smith Jr. in the Skills Challenge on Saturday. And they've officially got KJ Martin in the dunk contest on Saturday. So should be a lot of fun. Rockets well represented at All-Star Weekend. I think I called it in Rockets Watch, but I want to stake my claim on it here. I'm calling that KJ Martin will wear one of his dad's jerseys during the dunk contest at some point. The question is whether is he going to wear a Denver Nuggets Kenyon Martin jersey, or is he going to wear the New Jersey Nets Kenyon Martin jersey. So we'll see what he actually decides to rock. It would be a great kind of tribute to his dad, and for KJ, somebody who's so close to his father, I definitely think it would be a cool little thing for him to do. And I didn't talk much about KJ in this game, but KJ continues to be one of the best, most productive Rockets on the team. I didn't talk about it because he consistently produces, right? 15 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, 6 of 10 shooting. KJ didn't shoot the ball in this game, and he's got to be able to shoot the ball, but he continues to be, he's probably, throughout the entire season, he's probably been the most consistent Houston Rocket. I don't think that's a stretch to say. KJ has been the most consistent with his minutes when he gets the minutes this season past any other Houston Rocket. Alp probably second most consistent with the actual run that he gets. But wanted to include that. And also one more interesting tidbit here, a cliffhanger to leave you with as we wrap up the episode. James Harden didn't speak to the media after the Rockets-Sixers game. That's pretty uncommon. As I understand it from, guys who were boots on the ground in Philadelphia, they tried to talk to James, and Philly PR just let him bounce. And even Jonathan Fagan wanted to, chat with James, wanted to speak with James after the game, presumably to get some questions in about the whole, hey, all these rumors about you coming back to Houston, what's going on there? And they made no attempt to make James Harden available. James didn't want to talk to the media. He just straight up, boop, he was out. He was like, I'll see you guys later. Read between the lines on that a little bit, right? Because there's been so much smoke about the whole James to Houston thing. And this game might have been like an audition of sorts for the Rockets young guys, for James Harden. But, and you know, if it was an audition, the Rockets didn't do a great job, especially in the second half. But I don't know. There's just, it's a very peculiar thing to have a player who was, you know, in a given game, your leading scorer, right? You know, Harden led the Sixers. It's his former team, all that, all the storylines, all the narratives. Usually that player is made available for a post-game media session. And to not be when both the visiting team reporters are looking for him and the home team reporters want him as well. Very interesting. It's curious. So I'll leave you with that little morsel. You can, you know, ruminate on that, pontificate on it, think about it, all that good stuff. But with that, that's going to do it for today's episode. As always, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcasts. That's Apple, Spotify, Google, Odyssey app, free and available on all podcast platforms. We're also available on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search Locked On Rockets. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Give me your thoughts on any number of topics. Tell me how you feel about Jabari Smith Jr., his struggles throughout his rookie season. Tell me how you feel about the James Harden stuff. Do you think it's completely overblown, or do you think there's something there in the tea leaves? Let me know your thoughts. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.